Chapter 4. A few days later, Grakmul led the way through the busy streets of Taelurien, with Taelurien, Taelurien and Duros in tow. Let's not forget that we do not mention the guild in any way, the gnome reminded his companions. We do not want the orcs to tie this back to us. The others marched on, in silent acknowledgement. It was not long before they approached the entrance to the orc compound, the dirty cobblestone street framed by clusters of pikes, on which skulls had been impaled, flanked by white and red feathers. Shadows stalk grew on the buildings to either side, outlining the district in a wall of black. Ugh, wonderful, Taelurien complained. This smells hardly better than the sewers. They entered the compound, eyed by large brawny orcs standing near fireplaces here and there. Taller and more muscular than a human, these strong-jawed humanoids had a yellow or yellow-grey tinge to their skin and pointed ears similar to an elf's, but jagged-looking and curving backwards like a wild animal's. Their hostile yellow-eyed glares clearly indicated that they disapproved of strangers trespassing on their turf. The companions did not let the display of animosity deter them. Taelurien and Taelurien followed Grakmul through the dark alleys, Duros growling in low tones as they went. The air was thick with the stench of filth, charred meat, and stale ale. The half-orc stopped in front of a large, run-down building. "This is it," he said, clenching his fists. "This is where they hang out." Taelurien frowned, no longer convinced their plan was sound. "Are we really sure about this?" he grumbled. Grakmul looked down at the gnome. "Fondi was right. I have to do this," he said, a hint of anger in his voice. "They beat me up in front of everyone. I can't just let it go." Taelurien nodded, his eyes narrow. "Lead the way." The group burst into the building. The orcs inside looked up in surprise as Grakmul strode towards his target, a massive grey brute with bulging muscles and a yellow tattoo on his face. "Remember me?" the half-orc growled. "I challenge you to single combat." The orc laughed. "You? You think you can take me down?" He looked around, expecting the others to join him in his laughter, but they merely looked at him expectantly. The orc's mien turned sour. "Right then, let's go outside. I'll show this whelp what we do to bastards here." Some of the orcs around him growled and cheered. Soon they were standing in front of the building, with the orcs and Grakmul's companions at a safe distance from the two fighters in the ring. Several orcs had stepped away from a fireplace nearby to make more room for the fight. Without another word of warning, the two combatants lunged forward. Duros started barking, obviously unsure how to judge this situation. Taelurien laid a hand on his back. "Easy, boy. Our friend can handle this." The dog instantly calmed down, as if he had understood every word. He now watched the fight intently alongside the others. Grakmul landed a fast 1-2 combination and sent blood flying from his opponent's mouth, but the huge orc quickly recovered. He jumped at the half-orc, grabbed him and threw him to the side with pure strength. Grakmul barely managed to avoid being thrown directly into the fire, but landing on the hard soil, he felt a rib or two snap. Despite the pain, he quickly got back to his feet, just in time to catch a fist directly in the mouth. Still dazed, he found the other orc grabbing him by the collar. He retaliated in kind, and the two combatants were locked, trying to bring each other down. "Look at you, whelp!" the other yelled, spittle flying in the half-orc's face. "Barely able to stand on his own, yet biting off more than you can—" Grakmul let go with one hand and slammed an elbow hard into his opponent's face. With a howl, the orc staggered backwards, and Grakmul lunged after him, toppling his enemy. Mounting himself on top, he started pounding the other mercilessly, and some of the orcs around the combat area looked as if they were ready to help their compatriot. Taelurien pulled out his dagger and started to juggle it with one hand. That got the attention of any errant orc, and the moment had passed. The huge orc had tried to block Grakmul's strikes at first, but after a hard hit to the temple, his arms went limp. Immediately after another 1-2 combination, the half-orc let go of his adversary and stood up, his chest heaving with exertion. "Listen up, all of you," he shouted to the other orcs. "I have new friends now, and if any of you mess with me again, you'll have to deal with them too." Taelurien continued to juggle his dagger, while Taelurien and Duros stood by silently. The companions turned away and started to head for the exit of the orc compound, when suddenly, out of the corner of his eyes, Taelurien saw a figure watching them intently. It was an older, hunchbacked orc in black robes, who held charred meat and sticks in one hand. Breaking from his group, the dark elf went over to him. "I greet you, stranger," the old one said in friendly tones, his yellow eyes betraying an intelligence that Taelurien had not seen in the other orcs today. "You watched us?" the dark elf asked. "I did, indeed," the old orc replied. "A good fight it was." "Oh, forgive my manners. I am Grakmul the rat merchant." It was only now that Thanael realized the meat impaled on the hunchback's sticks were dead rats, some of them burnt to a crisp. "I'll take one," Thanael said, and the old orc nodded, smiling. He pulled off one of the rats with his great taloned hand and handed it over to the dark elf. Thanael took a crunchy bite. "That would be 1 copper piece," the rat merchant said. Thanael had an assortment of coins from previous exploits with the guild. He opened the purse hanging at his belt, rummaging through it while eating the rat. Taking out 1 gold piece, he held it up, then deliberately placed it in Grakmul's hand. "I thank you," he said. "See you around." The old orc's eyes lit up with an inner fire, and he bowed briefly before the dark elf. "Yes, master," he said, and Thanael was back on his way. "What was that?" Sultan asked, seeing the dark elf return. "Just making friends," Thanael said in a curious tone of voice. A smile spread across Grakuk's face as they walked along. "Thank you," he said. "I couldn't have done it without you." Thanael nodded in acknowledgement, and Duros chimed in with a bark, eliciting a laugh from the half-orc. Sultan grunted. "Let's get back to the guild. I could use a stiff drink." And with that, they headed back to Soliana's refuge, with their new ally leading the way in a strong, confident stride.